Morning, guys. Welcome to Marksmanship again. All right, one of your video lectures. All right, we're going to start off today with a little bit of a review on the safety stuff and some ammo stuff that you learned from the video that I did last time. Safety, stuff you got in class. Two primary causes of firearms accidents: ignorance, carelessness. Nobody who's been in my class now should be able to claim ignorance. If you have an accident with a gun, you know gun safety. All right, so if you have an accident with a gun from now on out, it's going to be because of carelessness. So what are the three gun safety rules? The things that are going to keep you safe. Number one, muzzle in a safe direction. Number two, finger off the trigger. Three, keep the gun unloaded until ready to use. Remember, you always treat the guns as if they're loaded. Doesn't matter if you know 100% they're unloaded, you still treat them as if they're loaded. The ammo, we went over in the video that I did previously on the components of a cartridge and kind of how the cartridges work. Have a little bit better blow up today, showing you the cartridge, what the cartridge looks like on the inside. Okay, this is an image of what a cartridge looks like on the inside. You have the case here, the bullet here. Inside the case there's gunpowder, and in the base of the case there's the primer. So those four components are what you will always have inside a cartridge, a metallic cartridge: the bullet, the case, the powder, and the primer. What happens when you shoot this thing, like I showed you the other day, some part of the gun will hit the primer, typically the firing pin. The firing pin containing an impact-sensitive chemical compound is going to throw sparks into the gunpowder, catch the gunpowder on fire. High pressure gases are going to push the bullet out of the case, into the barrel, through the barrel, out the muzzle, and on toward whatever you have the gun pointed at. So, safe direction, we always do that. Now, there are things that can go wrong with that sequence of events. Okay, it's called cartridge malfunction. There's three things that can happen here that cause this not to work properly. All right. I'm going to list these for you first, then I'm going to define them, and then we'll talk about them. Okay. So the three cartridge malfunctions you have a misfire, a hang fire, and a squib load. So misfire, hang fire, and squib load. Squib is S-Q-U-I-B, squib load. Okay, a misfire is a failure of a cartridge to fire. Right, misfire, failure of the cartridge to fire. Hang fire is a delay in the ignition of the cartridge. A delay in the ignition of the cartridge. Squib load is a round that develops less than normal pressure. Less than normal pressure. Okay, so misfire, failure of the cartridge to fire. I pull the trigger on the gun, I hear the gun go click, and I don't hear anything else. So the firing pin hit the primer, and then nothing happened. Okay, all kinds of reasons why that might happen. Doesn't matter the particulars at this point why that might have happened, but it didn't happen. Okay, you pull the trigger, you hear click, nothing. Okay. Hang fire, a delay in the ignition of the cartridge. You pull the trigger, you hear the gun go click, then you hear the gun go bang. All right, so you pulled the trigger, you heard it click, but then there's a pause between the click and the bang. A squib load, less than normal pressure. All right, so you've shot the gun, and it didn't develop the amount of pressure that it normally would. You don't need to know what the pressures are. That's kind of irrelevant to you. You just need to be able to recognize from the shooter's perspective how it will show up if I might have a squib load. So when the normal sequence of events happens, primer, gunpowder catches on fire, pushes the bullet out, you have a certain amount of noise and a certain amount of kick. If you have a quieter round, or the kick doesn't feel the same, then we know we might have had a squib load. Okay? So what do we do if we have any of these? You pull the trigger and the gun goes click. Is that a misfire? Okay. Maybe. What do I mean by maybe? On the hang fire, remember we said it's a delay in the ignition. How long is that delay? Well, the ammo engineers say that delay could last up to 60 seconds. Okay, so, 30 seconds. So what happens? We pull the trigger, the gun goes click, we need to sit there and keep the gun pointed in a safe direction for 30 seconds, all right? If the gun doesn't go bang in 30 seconds, we can say that it's truly a misfire, not a hang fire. So you pull the trigger, click, is it a hang fire or misfire? We don't know yet. We have to wait and keep the gun pointed in a safe direction for at least 30 seconds. Once 30 seconds is elapsed, we know it's not a hang fire, it's a misfire, okay? Squib load, the less than normal pressure. We pull the trigger and we've been pulling the trigger and we've been hearing bang, 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 and this time we hear, okay, well that's different. If we're pulling the trigger and because we've got hearing protection on and everybody else is shooting in here, we can't really hear what our gun's doing, so we're kind of used to how it feels when we pull the trigger. We pull the trigger and we'll feel a little bit of a kick. If we feel something different, then we need to stop and check stuff out. Why do we need to stop and check stuff out? If this sequence of events is disrupted and you're not getting the full amount of pressure, what might happen is the bullet might not make it all the way through the barrel, okay? The bullet might not come all the way out the barrel and it could be stuck inside the barrel somewhere. If that happens, when we try to shoot another round, it could be bad, all right? So we want to always check to see if we think we've had a squib load, holler at me, I will get a rod of some sort and I'll run it through the barrel. If it goes all the way through the barrel, then we know there's no bullet stuck in the barrel, all right? Now, all that said, the chances of you guys having one of the more disastrous malfunctions, probably not gonna happen, okay? The chances of you having a misfire probably is gonna happen, not only in your shooting career, but in this class, okay? Now, the misfire with the ammo that we shoot in this class, the little teeny tiny 22 rimfires that you guys will be buying, you're probably going to have a misfire or two in this class because there's a fairly high propensity for 22s to misfire compared to the centerfire ammo that you would shoot with, say, like a 9mm or a 308. Because of that, you're going to have to be ready to go through what's called the misfire procedures. You're going to have to, when the gun goes click, you have to wait and see if it's a misfire or a hang fire. So the hang fire and the squib load are the ones that are more rare. Okay, matter of fact, you probably won't see one of those ever in your life as a shooter. You're looking at millions of rounds before you'll ever see that, and I doubt most people ever see that many rounds fired. If you get into shooting competitions or you shoot a lot of crappy surplus ammo from other countries, you might see hang fires and squib loads, but that's probably the only place you're going to see that stuff. If you shoot reloaded ammunition in competitions, you're probably going to find a squib load and might even find a hang fire in there. Okay, but if you buy new factory ammo or even surplus American ammo, anything other than 22 rimfire, you probably never in your life see one of those malfunctions. But if you encounter one, you need to know how to handle it properly. Because if you've got a hang fire and you pull the trigger and the gun goes click and you think it's a misfire, not a hang fire, that's when people start doing stupid stuff. They're like, oh man, the gun didn't fire. And then they'll move it and they'll quit paying attention to the muzzle and then the gun fires. Okay, well, wherever the gun's pointed, that's going to get a bullet. You have a squib load, you don't catch it, you shoot through that, and there's a bullet stuck in the barrel, it could be bad for you. Okay, so pay attention to those things. Probably never seen them in your life, but if you do, it's good to know how to handle them. All right, so that's a little bit of review, a little bit of extra stuff there, a little bit of expanding on stuff we already knew. Now we're going to get into today's stuff. Today we're going to talk about the target rifle we're going to shoot in class. We're also going to talk about the other equipment that you're going to have available to you to use in class. I'm going to encourage you to use the equipment that's provided for you here at the university, but I'm not going to require it. The very first day that you guys are in here with getting your hands on the rifle, you're not actually going to shoot. You're just going to hands-on with the guns. You're going to put on all the equipment, you're going to learn how to use the rifle, and you're going to do what's called dry fire. Okay, dry firing is shooting without ammo. That day I want you to use everything, just so I know that you know how to put all the stuff on. After that, it's up to you. You can put the stuff on or not, completely up to you. So let's get into it. First, we're going to talk about the rifle itself. Okay, so this is a diagram up here of a rifle that we're going to be using, right? And it lists the different parts of the gun. We have the rear sight is here, the front sight is here, we have the barrel, and we have the stock, the trigger and the trigger guard, the pistol grip, the butt of the gun, butt stock, and the bolt is right here, okay? And also I want you guys to note that the distance from here to here is called sight radius. Sight radius. The distance between your sights is called sight radius. Alright, so this is actually one of the guns we're going to use in class. This is an Anschutz target rifle. Front sight, rear sight, butt, pistol grip, trigger guard, trigger, forestock, the barrel itself. On the base of these guns we have a track that the hand stop, that's what this thing is called, the hand stop, will run it, okay? And you can twist that just a little bit and move it and lock it down wherever you want it. Most of the rifles have that here. I have a chamber flag in here that shows you that this rifle is unloaded. I'm going to take it out for a bit so I can play with the gun, but you guys know that the rifle is unloaded, and I'll even show you again that the rifle is unloaded. I think maybe you can see up in there. The bolt handle on this gun, forward, down, standard bolt action rifle, that would load it. To load it, you'd put a cartridge in there, bolt handle forward, down, that would load it. When you shoot it, when you're done, up, back, and that'll unload it. Give it a little bit of force, you don't have to jerk it, but if you give it a little bit of force, it'll eject the cartridge, the brass, it'll throw it over there, and then you can load another one in. If you're super, super gentle with it, the brass is just gonna lay right there inside your chamber area, okay? So you wanna give it a little tap, boom, that'll throw your brass out, and put another one in, we're ready to go for the next shot, okay? I did illustrate to you guys in class the other day how light the triggers are on these. I'm going to do that again today, just so you guys will have a little bit of respect for these guns. It don't take much effort to make this thing fire, okay? Be careful with it. Finger off the trigger. Don't touch the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Pay attention where your other digits are, okay? I've had people in the past, when they're closing the bolt, they'll bump the trigger with their middle finger, okay? And just a little bump, you saw that, and the gun's gonna fire. All right, so work the bolt handle, but keep your other parts away from the trigger as well. All right, set this thing down. Talk to you about some of the other stuff I've got here. Notice the rifle is sitting on a rifle rest. All right, I will allow you to shoot off of the rifle rest, maybe. All right. I'm going to show you other equipment that I would prefer you use, but if you just get to the point where you can't use it, I will allow you to shoot off of the rifle rest. All right. This rifle rest has multiple elevations, so you can rest the gun at different places. You got 3 here, we'll turn it over, you got 3 there, turn it over again, you got 3 here. So it changes, and you can get the height you need out of it. And it actually also has one more. If you need to, you can turn it up like that, okay? So you can shoot off of that if you absolutely need to. I'm gonna encourage you to not if you can. The reason for that is, what I'm gonna show you here is how to use a shooting sling, all right? There's no guarantee wherever you're at, you're gonna have access to a support of some kind to shoot from. What we're gonna learn the shooting within here is called a shooting sling. Now, granted, the shooting sling that I'm going to teach you guys to use in here is a little different than what you would have on a standard hunting type rifle, but the concept is the same. If you have a sling on a rifle, you've got support right there with you. We've fancied it up a little bit for this target shooting type stuff, this Olympic style, collegiate style shooting stuff, but if you use the sling, you will learn how to use that as a skill, and you can use that in any shooting endeavor that you find yourself in, okay? So that's the rifle rest. Some other stuff I have up here, I have a shooting glove, I have hearing protection, I have eye protection, I have, I thing called a loading block. I have a spotting scope. I have the mat, the shooting mat here. I have a shooting jacket, and I have a shooting sling. Now, I'm gonna put some of this stuff on for you, just to show you kind of what we're looking at here. All right, so this shooting jacket I'm gonna put on. All right, you don't have to button it up at this point because we'll be shooting what's called prone position, so laying down. What you're going to get most out of this one is the elbows. Okay, you're going to need elbow pads. Those are going to be handy. And this pad here and this pad here will be a little bit handy for you, and not for necessarily the reasons you think. This is not a recoil pad. That's not why this is here. The guns that we're shooting here have virtually no recoil to them anyway. All right, it's not going to take much more than like an air rifle would, so you don't have to worry about that. Shooting sling. This is what's called a loop style shooting sling. This thing has a loop with some rubbery stuff in it. It's got 2 plastic buckles, and then it's got a metal loop here with a device that looks much like what you would see a socket wrench made by. All right, so what we're going to do, this is a right-handed coat. I'm a right-handed shooter, so I'm going to put the sling on my left arm. So I'm going to put my arm through this sling. That. Notice the buckles are on top. If you look down and you can't see those buckles, you see just blue strap material like that, then you've got the sling on upside down. You want to be able to look down and see those buckles like that. Okay? Now, a good rule of thumb, whenever you're setting this sling up, the length you need, if you've got your arm bent at a 90-degree angle, when you put this sling, it should fall about right there. All right? This is just a rule of thumb. You're going to have to get your actual length whenever you're down there on the rifle. So you're going to grab you a shooting glove. Shooting gloves are out on the range, and they're in bins I've got out there, and they're all sized. Okay, so they will tell you, small, medium, large, extra large, whatever. And there's also buckets that say right and left. This is a little confusing. They're marked for what kind of shooter you are. I'm a right-handed shooter. I need a left-handed glove. Okay, so it will say right hand large. So this is a right hand large glove. It's for a right-handed shooter, goes on the left hand. All right, now that's a little weird. That's the way it works. All right, so I'm going to get this glove, put it on. Now this glove is kind of grippy and tacky. Okay, see that? All right, so I'm going to attach to the rifle. Attach this sling to the rifle. Remember I told you about the hand stop device right there. You can move it around. And I'll show you when we talk about the prone position, how to set that up. So we're going to take your sling swivel and this socket right here. You're going to put the sling swivel in that socket, and then there's a little button on the back. You push that button, and it locks just like you would if you were using a socket wrench. To take it off, okay, right now we're locked on. Okay, it's totally locked onto the rifle. To take that off, we just push that button again. I usually hook 2 fingers on the sling swivel, push the button with my thumb, and it comes right off. And reattach, push, we locked on again. All right. Now we're going to control the muzzle. Remember, I've told you muzzle direction, muzzle direction, muzzle direction. On the rifle range in here, I've got one primary safe direction, and that's downrange toward the target. When we're setting up the sling and stuff, though, we're going to have to do just a little bit of movement with the muzzle. I understand that. You're going to keep your chamber flag in, and I'll let you point the gun straight up for that. So up and down range is all you've got. That's the only safe directions that I recognize in here. All right. So that's what we're doing. All right. So now we're going to put our shooting glove on. Notice I'm controlling the gun here and keeping the muzzle pointed up in the air. So now I've got my shooting glove on, got my sling, and now we've got to wrap into the sling. So how are we going to do that? We're going to take our hand, we're going to come toward our face, okay? So we're going to come toward our face, over the sling, and under the rifle, like that. See how the sling wraps around the back of my hand? You can see how it flows down to my bicep here, okay? So, to my face, over the sling, under the rifle like that. And once you've done that, you don't have to hang on to the rifle anymore. You're locked onto it. See, I'm not hanging onto the rifle. If I've got the appropriate amount of tension on this rifle, this provides support. This creates an artificial bicep for us here, and that supports the weight of the rifle. That's what the sling does. It supports the weight of the rifle. Okay? Now, I'm going to shoulder this here. I'm going to show you a little thing. With the hearing protection on the muffs, some people have a hard time when they're trying to shoulder the rifle because of the muffs there. My method, what works for me, is when you put your face on the rifle, start high, like at your chin, and then squish your face down. Notice that pushes the muff up a little bit, but it doesn't break the seal. Okay, so I can get my eye behind the sight and I can make my shot without breaking the seal of the hearing protection. And you're not just beating around on the stock with your hearing protection. Okay, so I mentioned these pads. All right, the reason these pads are here, with the tension that I've created with this sling, if I've got it correct, if I didn't have the jacket on, your heartbeat would be transmitted to the sights, okay? So if I didn't have the jacket on, I've got so much tension here that when I'm looking through the sights, they would bump with your pulse, all right? But because we have this jacket on, it's got a pad here and it's got a pad here, and those pads take up your pulse, okay? So we want to wear it. You don't have to, like I said, you don't have to wear the jacket if it's just not one. I don't have a size for you. I've got most of the sizes that we'll need, but if I don't have one that fits you, maybe try wearing a sweatshirt or something, a hoodie, something that's got some cushion to it, so maybe that'll help. But some people just decide they don't want to wear it. It gets kind of hot here on the range. I'm not going to say anything to you if you don't want to wear it. It will help you because of why I said. Also, elbow pads. If you decide not to wear the coat, probably going to want to find you some elbow pads. Don't get the hard skater type, because then it's like you're on ball bearings. You're rolling around on these ball bearings. You want some kind of soft. Even take an old pair of socks, some thick socks, cut the toe out of them, put it all the way on your arm up to your elbow, maybe even pull it down and double it, and that'll give you a little bit of cushion on your elbows. You might even want to do that for inside the coat. These coats are canvas, they're kind of rough. You're laying in the prone position. It's something you've never done before. It's not uncommon for people to rub blisters on their elbows from laying in the prone position. All right, we'll leave that there. I think the only thing I haven't mentioned here is the spotting scope. The spotting scope you will need to learn how to set up so that you can see your target, okay? The targets are far enough away to where all you're going to see is a little black spots. You're not going to be able to see where you're hitting on it. That's going to matter whenever we start adjusting our sights at a later time. Let's see. All right, out on the range, the location of the equipment. I'm going to show you another video that whenever I demonstrate the prone position, where everything is, so I'm going to talk about that right now. I will tell you this, don't move guns around on the range. I'll have the rifles laid out every day on the range. When I have them laid out, leave them where I've got them, all right? If you need a rifle someplace other than where it's at, say something to you. And what I'm talking about there, some of the rifles are different lengths, and some are made for right-handed people, and some are made for left-handed people. Depending upon what you are, you may need a different rifle than where it's a position that's open, all right? So don't just move a rifle around because you want it there. Say something to me and I'll move the rifle. I don't want you guys using safeties on these rifles, okay? These rifles do have safeties. There is a little safety lever on it. I don't want you guys using it. The reason I don't want you guys using it is this. When you're using this rifle, you're going to load it, you're going to shoot it. You're going to load it, you're going to shoot it. All right? There's no point in there for load, safety, unsafety, shoot. Okay? What guys particularly tend to want to do with the safety is they'll load it and they're like, oh man, my sling's not right. So I'll put it on safe, and then I'll start monkeying around with my sling. I'll start playing with my hearing protection. I'll mess with my scope, and I'll do stupid stuff. And if I'm not shooting this rifle, it needs to be unloaded and not on safe. Okay? So if you're going to do anything with your scope, you unload it, you put your chamber flag back in, then you monkey around with whatever stuff you got to do. This is safe, not the safety. The safety, for your purposes, doesn't exist. Okay? This is the only thing that constitutes a safe rifle. Chamber flag in, muzzle in a safe direction. Okay? So now we can set this down and we can mess around with our scope, because this is safe, not just loaded and on safe. That's not safe. Okay? So don't even mess with the safeties in here. All right. If you hear the command cease fire on the range, remember we talked about with the earbuds and stuff in here, no playing music because of cease fire. If you hear cease fire, what do? Stop shooting, right? We're going to stop shooting, we're going to keep the gun pointed in the safe direction, and we're going to wait for further instructions. All right? And the further instructions might be, okay, now you can commence fire again, or the range is hot again. It might have just been something, somebody might have stepped out in front of the range, they dropped their target, they stepped out in front of the range, and I called ceasefire so they could grab their target, and now they're back, and you can go ahead and start shooting. Or I might tell you, you gotta go ahead and unload your rifle, step off the range, whatever, the building's on fire. Who knows? Who can call ceasefire? Anybody. Whoever observes an unsafe condition should call ceasefire. If I'm out there helping a student and I have a heart attack and I fall down range, and you're the student I'm working with, you need to call ceasefire. All right? You yell ceasefire. If you hear ceasefire, you echo the command. Everybody yells ceasefire so that it goes all over the range and everybody stops shooting, because we're shooting loud noises. It takes people a second or two to catch that command over the gunfire. All right? So if you see something dangerous, call ceasefire. If you hear ceasefire, echo the command. If you hear ceasefire, stop shooting. Finger off the trigger. Stay downrange, wait for further instructions. Okay? All right. There's no place else in the class to put this, but it is something you guys need to know, and you'll see it on your test later on. Shooting at objects in the water. Should you shoot at objects in the water? The answer is no. All right. Why? The velocity bullets travel at when they hit water, water becomes like concrete, and they will ricochet right off the water. All right. Particularly if the angle is kind of steep. So yeah, don't shoot at stuff in water. And you know, conservation stuff, and you don't want to break bottles and sink them in a pond or in the river or whatever. So, but don't shoot at objects in water. All right, guys. If you have questions, email them to me. Hope you're staying safe out there, and I'll look forward to seeing you in class. Bye.